younger people like yourself still recognise and appreciate Python. That means a lot to me. Approaching the Parsifal. The engine drifts unhappily through the sky. Its hull has been split by an eruption of corpse-white fungus from inside. The name Parsifal can be made out in brass letters on its side. First engine through the avid horizon, a navigator whispers. London's pride. He was captained by Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe. Percy Blythe. And her mission was to chart new horizons beyond Albion. She never came back. Okay. Board the Parsifal. What happened to the first engine in the high wilderness? Its doors are sealed, its lights dim. It drifts in the currents, mangled by fungal extrusions. Bolt cutters and pry bars are required to break the outer door. Its locking mechanism is antiquated and slickened with an oily substance. You wrench the door open and are immediately greeted with a cloud of yellowing spores. Your vision blurs, just as your navigator torches them, igniting the air with burning fungus. A few gaslights flicker on the walls. The scratchy sounds of a gramophone can be heard. All right. Enter the captain's cabin. Oh, let's do this up here first. Spores drift through broken carriages like dying fireflies. Recruitment posters bearing Her Renewed Majesty's face moulder on the walls. Music, scratchy but distinct, echoes through the empty carriages. A great wall of pulsing fungus separates the back of the engine from the front. Right, enter the captain's cabin. In the first designs for London's engines, the captain always roomed towards the back of the train for their protection. Plush seats surround a decaying paper map placed on a mahogany table. Drinks, some floating with mildew, have been poured in glasses around the table. Maps hang from sprouting fronds like peeling wallpaper. Spores float gently through the room. Logbooks lie scattered about the table. None date from after 1897. The engine's destination was to be Traitor's Wood. The last entry regards a stop at Hybris, which they named High Brazil. Something was brought on board. The captain's bunk has collapsed in a pile of rotten wood and infected bedsheets wet with fungal growths. Investigate the armory. An explorer engine like the Parsifal would have been stocked for all eventualities. The solid iron walls of the armory are stained and rotted with sporing bodies. Lockers hang open, revealing decaying and antiquated sky suits. The old design with thermal chestplate and brass buttons for fastenings. Several of your crew coo appreciatively, but back away when a prodding of one suit reveals a fruiting colony of golden black mushrooms has sprouted within. Amongst the outdated and unused weaponry, you uncover a trove of novels. Fanciful stuff, but all concerned with the possibilities of space travel and the interaction between modern man and the alien. So we've nudged our terror up a little more. Reach the fungus. Okay, we've got a 60% chance here. Shivering spasms of festering fungus separate the front of the train from the rest. The only way forward is through. I knew this would go badly. Sabres serve to hack away the plump, bulging intrusions. It peels away like flesh carved from a roasted pig. The smell is considerably worse, however. The work is slow going. These twitching sheaths of fungus are of enormous size and depth. We have an American on board? Oh. An American stoker remembers the redwood trees of his youth. Eventually, enough of a path is cleared to allow you to progress. It's a tight squeeze between the walls of livid flesh, allowing you to see the bulges within up close. Bulges the same shape and size as you. And then you are through. Our terror's nudging up a bit. Explore the crew cabins. Hang on, the front of the engine is even more infected with sprouting mushrooms and sporing fungal growths. The engine room lies ahead, seemingly the source of the persistent movement. Before that, however, is a haze of spores rendering the corridor ahead entirely noxious. Explore the crew cabins. In locomotives as old as this, the crew were always assigned bunks near the engine room. The sounds of the gramophone are louder here. Battered metal and tormented wood panelling comprise the confines in which the crew dwelled. Chubby toadstools, round as pastries, dot the cramped bunk beds. Mementos of home are scattered about the fruiting debris. Slim volumes of Arnold and Blake, vials of honey, and engravings of simple domestic scenes can be found under every bunk. You also uncover a little tally chart on a folded-up bit of paper. It seems the crew were organising a whip round for their commander's retirement present. They settled on a plot of land on Port Prosper. Right, traverse the sporing carriage. Rooting sacks send clouds of vitriolic orange into the air. Passing through will be hazardous to the health. The engine room is just beyond. Partial success, okay. You go alone. Your crew disappear behind you, lost in a haze of orange and gold. Above, sacks of sporing fungus encrusted to the metalwork begin to erupt. Showers of spore and viscous liquids render the terrain still more hazardous. You feel a peculiar sensation. Your hands tingle as though wishing to reach out, to touch the fungus as though for one more drink. You increase your speed. There is a cry behind you. You turn to see one of your crew, a particularly distractible signaller, has entered the miasma after you. Her hands hover over a mound of virulent gold fungus as though transfixed. Go back for her, perhaps there's time. Right. You call out, risking spores entering your mouth, and begin to run. Your signaller flinches and draws back just as a fungus pops, emitting an iridescent cloud. You see briefly an image of an old marshy place bedecked with sprawling fungus, a large tower of wobbling mushroom. A word enters your head. Mother! You come to with your signaller crouched over you. You send her back to safety. You're fine. You're fine. You press on. The engine room is before you. Light and music spill from under the door, queasy and persistent. The thick steel door is scored with bullet holes and is held in place by tendrils of ropey white fungus. As you approach, you notice the damage done to the walls, riddled with bullets, old stains on the carpet. An attack was mounted on the engine room. You can hear music loud and clear from inside. An eerie green light pours through the hinges like floodwater. You push open the door. May God have mercy on your soul. Oh boy. The engine room is cold as a sunless sky. Your breath hangs in long chains before you. The boiler is off. The infernal gramophone sits atop the boiler. The music is no better for being closer to it. Before you lies a dance macabre of fungus and corpses, hand in frond. On the wall, suspended by fungus, is a body in a captain's uniform. Investigate the engine room. What happened here? The corpses bear bullet wounds. They are unmarred by fungus, decaying in peace. Amongst the rank insignia you spot a first officer, a chief engineer, and a conductor. All died violent deaths. There are far too few to amount to the full crew. The boiler, a battered, antiquated, wheezing contraption, stands silent and broken. Strips of iron hang in front of it, as though it had suffered an explosion. Inside you find fungus amidst the ashes, clumps and clusters of tendrils that sprout from the charcoal. When burnt, the spores would have infected the whole engine. Examine the captain's corpse. Here lies all that remains of Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe. The corpse of the finest officer of his generation hangs from the walls, suspended by loops of pale fronds. His skin is sallow, and strands of golden fungus crawl beneath it. His eyes open. Percy Blythe looks down on you. Blue fruiting mushrooms speckle his beard. Next to him, the gramophone crackles out dreary anthems of years past. His mouth opens too wide as he speaks. His jaw cracks. Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe lives! Suspended from chains of fungus, Percy Blythe begins to stir, improbably alive. He fixes his gold-flecked eyes on you as his mouth begins to move as though wanting to speak. Somehow, he is alive. He groans. His mouth opens impossibly wide and a cloud of yellow spores emerge. I am all that's left. An oily liquid begins to drip from his left eye. I am a child of the grave garden. The voice alters, becoming more clipped, more static, like that of the voices on the gramophone. I am Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, Captain of the Parsifal. My task was to explore the wilderness and return home with new discoveries. He groans as though weeping. I am all that remains. I want to go home. Terror is still creeping up, but it does. Yeah, this game does get dark, Woody. That's the thing. It does. Ask him what happened here. How did the Parsifal end in this condition? We met the children on Hybris. We sought to know each other, wanted to go to the wood, wanted to see what was kept from us. Percy is drooling as he speaks. The gramophone clicks as yet another patriotic dirge begins to play. Percy Blythe struggles in his bonds, pulling himself up to stand a little straighter. We made contact on Hybris. The fungus was so bright, so beautiful. His eyes shine gold. I brought it aboard. God forgive me. I wanted the crew to see, to know. Oil leaks from those hollow eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Some came willing. Others refused to join us. We had to. He breaks off into silence, staring away into the middle distance. Just wondering how far I can push my terror. What happened to him? How can he be alive? Well, indeed. Percy Blythe launches into a long, meandering, slurred story of children and gardens, of a cruel king who needed but did not love his subjects despite their love for him, of knowledge denied and growth checked, of tyranny and freedom, of grief and betrayal and longing. The music bursts into sudden life. Percy jerks and fixes you with an infected eye. I was stupid. I thought we would be welcome here. And we were. We were welcomed. We were loved. The children, the Verdants, they wanted us. He begins to sob. It is a sad, squelching sound. The oily burbling goes on for some time. The Lieutenant Commander becomes rapidly incoherent. Sometimes he weeps for Mother, other times for London. He believes himself disgraced twice over. Eventually, the embarrassing affair comes to a stop as Percy Blythe is left blowing clouds of spores from his mouth, his eyes vacant. Our terror is up to 37 now. What does he want now? Can he even go home? Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe lets out a low moan and slumps forward. The chains of fungus adjust to accommodate this despair. Home. He slurs like a drunk man demanding another drink. On Hybris, Mother spored us there. He set out her children across the stars to learn. The traitor's wood. We were forbidden from entering there, but now its king is dead. But this craft failed before we could arrive. The body jerks as though shocked. Percy's face rises to face you. London, he rasps. London. Can the Parsifal still fly? The answer is almost certainly no, but there's no harm in asking. No! The Lieutenant Commander hisses, his eyes rolling in his head. Sabotage! Mutiny! Ignorance! No fuel! The children too greedy, spread too fast. Like fire! The engine is broken! The crew all gone! I am alone! His head lolls as though his neck were broken. Right, let's wrap this up. Decide his fate. Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, decorated hero of London's forces, first captain through the avid horizon, gazes at you, slack-jawed and unseeing. Please, he rasps, take me home, or finish this. He twitches. We just wanted to know what was kept from us in Traitor's Wood. Why did our king not love his children? He wanted to go home. Let's take him home. The remnant of Percy Blythe does not appear to register your response. His head bobs with the tilting of the engine. You cup his head gently to avoid plunging your hand through the soft, rotten flesh of his neck. The chains of fungus quiver as you set to freeing him. His hand reaches for yours, and his gold-flecked eyes meet yours. An end, please, he rasps. London. I want... remember as I was. The light leaves his eyes and his head lolls back. He speaks not another word to you as you untangle him from the fraudulent chains that bind him. Fraudulent, that's not a word I've come across. Eventually, and after some deft work with a hacksaw to free him from the spongy flesh at his back, Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe is free. You guide him, clinging and ruined, through the sporing carriages and to the safety of your engine. Hooray! Percy Blythe is aboard your locomotive. Well, right. Now, how do we get out of here?